Hello everyone, Video Game Worm here, and welcome to another unboxing. Today we're gonna be looking at the YoRHa A No.2 Nier Automata figure from Bring Arts. YoRHa Type A No.2, or simply A2, is the third figure from the Nier Automata franchise to be released under the Bring Arts line. But before we go further, let's have a proper character introduction. A2 is one of the three protagonists in the game. Your first encounter with her wouldn't be a friendly one, and will eventually lead to a boss fight. She has a huge role to play, especially towards the end of the game. She has a very interesting character development, and in my opinion, the strongest of the three androids. I like the way Bring Arts standardized their boxes according to the game franchise they're making the figure for. One side of the box, for example, has the strange writing from the game's own language, with the character's name making the only difference with the other two figures' boxes. The backside shows some of the poses you can do with the figure, and with Bring Art's high articulation, is not far from possible. My box came with some oil stain or probably glue stain on top, but this is most probably an isolated case. So now, let's get into the contents. Properly arranged and divided into two layers. One layer came with the main limb and extras, while the other one holds the stand and other accessories. Freshly, and even before I touch the figure, you can see the crisp detail that each piece has. The A2 figure comes with two heads and two torsos, as opposed to 2B, which only came with an extra head. But I guess that fits story-wise, and I can't really complain. We'll start with the main body, which is dressed in a nightgown. She wears gloves that covers almost her entire arm, and one of her stockings is completely worn out, showing how battle-scarred she is. The figure uses ball joints from the elbow to wrist, giving you full rotational freedom on how you want to pose her. Her arms are thin and feel symmetrical to her body, although her shoulders look slightly too low. The legs has a nice anatomical structure, especially the thigh part. Ball joints are also used here, but the forward and sideward movement is limited to about a 45-degree angle. The ankle can be bent back and forth, but also rotate 360 degrees. The knees only bend forwards and backwards, which is pretty much how a real knee joint is restricted to anyway. The torso has some limited articulation, but I can imagine this to be useful in certain poses, especially given this character's personality. It can really add some attitude. There's really nothing to complain about her face. She looks exactly as how she looks like in the game, and her clothes have some nice fold and very lingerie-like. A2's overall look gives an awesome vibe of toughness and animosity. Her skin shows cracks and signs of withering. Also, I forgot to mention is that her thighs can be rotated 360 degrees. Her toes vaguely show on the stiletto that she is wearing. I guess future androids can be really fashionable. Unfortunately, there's no toe articulation, which can make making her stand on her own a bit of a challenge. A2 seems to stand the same height as the 2B figure, but her hair is more opaque and therefore more white. I also think it's a better looking hair, and probably the same as the version 2 2B figure. Her skin is also a bit lighter, and again for me is on the plus side. A2 comes with 3 different weapons, but to equip 2 of them, you'll need to change her default hands to weapon grabbing hands. She comes with 6 individual hands all in all. There's no real articulation on A2's hand, but it's made of soft plastic so it can be opened easily to insert the weapon. One of the weapons is a sword that she uses during the first time you encounter her. The spear is probably one of the earlier weapons you get playing as 2B, but I'm not entirely sure. The helmet gloves took me a while to put on her hands. You'll need to take off her hands in order to put them, and insert the pointy part into the glove's tiny hole. I'm afraid that it could potentially damage the hands, so I don't see myself doing this a lot in the future. But if this is the type of look you fancy, your efforts will be well rewarded. I have to warn of the sword's fragile handle. It seems to be detachable by design, but I'm not entirely sure for what reason. Luckily, it's easy to put back. Just keep this in mind so you don't accidentally lose the part. We now hop on to the next piece, which is the less dressed torso and the shorter hair version. This time, her night dress basically just turned into a push-up bra. It's also a good time to verify the articulations that we saw on the main body. And here, you can see that her body can be twisted sideways and bent forwards and backwards a bit. There's also a good amount of movements you can do with the head. To complete her in this form, all you have to do is take out the limbs from the other body and put over to this one. And now you get the battered out look for A2. She looks good like this, but I think I would prefer the more dressed up version. There seems to be too much space between her hips and her thighs on this body, making her look much like a doll. I can't deny how good the paint job and sculpt on this body though, especially the hips. She still stands as tall as 2B in this body, but of course slimmer and more curvy because, well, less clothes. Her head can be easily detached and replaced by another head, which basically means you can put 2B's head into A2's body. And I guess that works vice versa. You can of course even swap out the head from the other torso to the other one. The last piece on the main parts that we'll look into is the baby machine lifeform. Quite honestly, he's the most pitiful character in the game. It comes with a crib that racks back and forth, and I'm amazed on the amount of detail on the crib, even though it's probably not gonna be that useful, and I know it's a he because he was referred to as a king by other machine lifeforms in the game. Lastly, we have the stand and other pieces to help you display A2 alongside her other weapons. Compared to 2B, the stand for A2 comes with more accessories. There's a very useful manual to tell you how to use them, and basically includes everything you need to know about the parts and articulation. And that concludes today's unboxing. Do you want me to cover 2B or 9S as well? Then please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, please give this video a like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.